We're very glad to be joined by the co-CEOs of the German NGO HateAid, Annalena von Hondenberg and Josephine Ballon. We will do a round of opening remarks from all speakers, and then we'll open to questions either on the floor or online. And Alexandra will take it away.
Yeah, good morning. Very happy to welcome here today to our press conference. We would like to comment a little bit on the current tech and geopolitical developments and to show how they are deeply intertwined. I know all eyes are right now on Davos, on Mercosur, on Greenland, obviously, but this is also a chance to understand a little bit how the strategies work and things that will also probably come into place for Greenland. So we are very happy to have 2 out of the 5 Europeans that were sanctioned by Trump just before Christmas, together with former Commissioner Thierry Breton, that all of you know. The other people are Claire Mulford and Imran Khan. And we have here Annalena Hodenberg and Josephine Ballon, who are quite famous in Germany because the organization HateAid helps victims, actually. They're not a political organization. They help victims of hate speech, and a lot of German politicians are still working because this organization helps and supports them. For me today, this is particularly important. We also had the Grok debate yesterday that focused on the sexual violence being committed by these tech bros for their business model, but also to drive women out of politics, because who can still make their comments on X with their own picture, knowing that probably in the comments there will be a sexualized picture of oneself. So that's also not only a business model, but part of a political strategy. And I am very angry at the fact that the Commission is not acting. We have ways to do this, and this is not happening. I would also like to outline that these visa restrictions and the pick of these 2 individuals who help support victims of hate and harassment campaigns show how hate and harassment campaigns are not coincidences. It's not just angry people in the internet. They are a surgical political instrument to silence opponents, in this case more serving the progressive spectrum, who is more subject to hate, but also to specifically target moderates within the conservative spectrum. So in the US, that has been the case for Liz Cheney in particularly. If there are any Germans online, if you're following the Daniel Günther case right now in Germany, he was part of German CDU, is being targeted by far-right networks. This is exactly the kind of campaign they are conducting, and they pick people like HateAid for the sanctions because they could help these people. They know what to do, and they show how the strategy works. So it also hits conservatives. It's a political instrument. I would also like to outline that HateAid, and in particular Josephine Ballon, is part of the DSA enforcement chain. Josephine Ballon was a member of the advisory board for the German Digital Services Coordinator for the tech people among you. And HateAid is a trusted flagger. So that's part of the specific DSA enforcement chain. And we can't enforce, especially our legislation, in particular the Digital Services Act, if we don't protect these individuals and these organizations. So what the US administration is hitting there is not some NGO out there. It is the DSA enforcement chain, and specifically the DSA going after individuals. And I would have very much wished for Ursula von der Leyen to invite these 2 people together with the former commissioner and the other sanctioned Europeans, because they are helping us to follow our laws, to enforce our own legislation. One more point, a more political point, this also shows how far-right parties cooperate with the EU administration to hit individuals in our country, to hit citizens of our countries. There was an AfD politician, Beatrix von Storch, who basically said on German television publicly, oh, we give lists to the Americans of people to hit here in Europe. And another German AfD member, Mr. Frohnmayer, who is basically more known for his Russian relations, who also traveled to the US, and we suspect that there are being lists drawn up by German AfD, who's also present in the ESN group here in the parliament, and handing them over to the US administration. So if you think that's patriotic, I really don't think so. I think it is really basically being traitors to your own country, and we should have a close political look at that as well. And last but not least, this shows the need for European technological sovereignty. You know, I've been a supporter and an advocate for that for a long time. If you see how an organization like HateAid is not only subject to visa sanctions, but also fearing there will be similar sanctions like the International Criminal Court, so not being able to use Microsoft, not being able to use payment system, it's really part of our sovereignty that we build European systems that we can control and not of our own administration. And last point, I'm getting too long, I'm sorry. Josefina Ballon will make some more points on the need to really enforce the DSA. This is what we are not seeing this week in this difficult political moment. And I think if you have a bully in the room, and that is what Donald Trump and the tech pros are in this moment, you have to stand up for them. And just enforcing our legislation, protecting our citizens, and in particular our women and children, is a way to do, though. I'm very frustrated about the cabinet of the president, as reported by the German press, holding back the commission with that enforcement. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alexandra.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Thank you so much for being here. And I will just say a couple of remarks to our organization, because we're really well known in Germany, but internationally maybe not so much. People just know us from the travel bans, I think. So my name is Annalena von Hodenberg. I'm a journalist. I'm here with Josefina Ballon, who is a lawyer. And we are the co-CEOs of HateAid. We are a human rights organization, but we are also Germany's first federal consultation for victims of digital violence. And we founded this organization about 7 years ago because we saw that people in the online space kept receiving death threats, harassment, rape threats, defamation, were victims of the publication of private information, like their private address or their telephone number. And the consequence was that people started to retreat from the digital space. They started to retreat from public debates. And we could see that digital violence was in many cases used strategically to silence political opponents. And so what we did was we said, okay, these people most of the time are very alone. And we started the consultation. We offer emotional support. We have psychologists. We have social workers. We also offer security support, communication support, and we also support people legally to go against the perpetrators. And we have consulted about 7,000 clients in these 7 years, and people come really from all parts of society. This can happen to everyone, but some groups are especially targeted. And these groups are journalists, politicians, people from the queer community, people who are assumed to be from the migrant community, but also women in particular. And Alexandra has already mentioned that. We are seeing that women are targeted in a very special way. The targeting is mostly sexualized. It's very explicit content that is produced of women. And today we are here not only because of the travel bans, but moreover because of our work, because the digital violence against women has reached a new escalation point.
Thank you. HateAid is not only advocating for human rights online, but also for the right to equal participation in the public debate and, of course, for freedom of expression online, but also against image-based sexual abuse already for years, because we really saw this deepfake catastrophe that we are currently seeing on X coming many years ago already. Within the DSA negotiations, it was a topic when face swap apps were really famous and made it very easy to create these pictures, but they were mainly replaced by AI tools like nudification apps later. And now we have reached a new escalation point with Grok and X, where we actually have a social media platform producing this kind of content and immediately publishing it on their platform without any control of the users that gave in the prompts. And I'm personally, and also as the CEO of HateAid and as a lawyer, shocked that the European Commission really failed on taking decisive action on this topic, including interim measures that would be possible under Article 70 of the Digital Services Act. They have all the tools that they need. And in my opinion, we are dealing with a very clear violation of the rules for systemic risk assessment and systemic risk mitigation in the Digital Services Act in Article 34 and 33. Not only is this kind of content illegal in many member states, it is also very clearly mentioned that also the risk for gender-based online violence is a systemic risk under the Digital Services Act. And I consider that there is no doubt that we are dealing with very severe forms of gender-based online violence on Grok currently. So as my colleague explained, we are cleaning up the mess behind Grok that they leave behind in our consultation as a civil society organization. And as a trusted flagger, we are doing this with an official mandate under the Digital Services Act, as we are allowed to flag these pieces of content and can ask for a priority handling of social media platforms to make takedown quicker and more efficient. And as a trusted flagger, but also as an organization that advocates strongly for user rights in the Digital Services Act, we also feel the pressure from the US. We felt it already before the travel ban, but of course we feel it now since Christmas more than ever. And we also feel the personal consequences, and we can, I think rightfully say it's a new level of personal consequences that our work brings with it for our personal lives. But of course, it changed a lot for us as an organization. And we also consider it to be clearly an attack on sovereignty in the European Union. And one last remark, I think it's a very dangerous attack, not only because it questions valid legislation that was done in the European Union, but it further weakens the enforcement, because each and every investigation that is currently going on under the Digital Services Act is based on complaints and evidence from civil society and from researchers. And if these people are no longer able to do their work because of these personal consequences and because of the consequences that their organizations have to suffer from, then there is a lack of enforcement due to a lack of evidence in the Digital Services Act, because the Digital Services Act relies on so many places on their participation.
Thanks a lot to our three speakers. We will now take some questions. If you're online, you can raise the online hand. We also have interpretation in English, French, and German if you wish, but maybe I first go to the room if there's any questions. Yes.
One. Yeah, hear me? Okay. So what was the reasoning behind the sanctions? What the reasons they gave you for sanctioning you?
So the official reasons that were given is that we are radical activists, a weaponized organization, and agents of the industrial censorship complex. So this is the only thing that we can tell, because we never received like an official statement or an official notification via email or a letter. We only know what was published on X by Marco Rubio, the State Department, and Undersecretary of State Sarah Rogers.
And Undersecretary of State Sarah Rogers, also you can see the tweets, they're still online, then said that Josephine especially was sanctioned because she was part of the Digital Services Act as part of the consultation for the digital service coordinator in Germany. And I was sanctioned because I was asking for more transparency on the platforms for researchers to have access, also something that is in the DSA, a right. So I was not asking for anything that is not already law. And I was warning of the extreme right to use the internet to radicalize young people.
Maybe one last remark. It was also explicitly said that we are participating in the censorship of American citizens, which is very unclear to us how you can make the statement.
So all these were official reasons given? All of which you stated now?
Yes, official reasons given on X.
Okay, thank you.
I have one in the back here, yes.
Oui, bonjour, merci. Pardon, je parle en français. Oui. C'est bon? Oui. Vous parliez des des pressions que vous sentiez déjà. Nous sentions des pressions déjà américaines. De quel type de pression il s'agissait? Et puis à la députée, vous dites que vous êtes très en colère de l'absence de réaction de la Commission. Quels échanges avez-vous eus avec elle plus précisément et avec qui?
So maybe, yeah, I would like to start. I will answer in English because my French is not that good, but I understood your question. So what the sanctions, what we know right now is that we can't travel into the United States, and also possibly our families not. This is everything we know from the tweet. But we have been warned by a lot of people from diplomatic, in the diplomatic field that who have accompanied people who have been sanctioned before, that this can change any minute. And you can see it with the head of the International Court for Human Rights, for example, where possible more sanctions that can hit us any minute actually are taking down our email accounts, taking down our digital infrastructure, like then taking down our PayPal account, taking down, shutting us off from our bank accounts, our Visa, shutting down our Visa accounts. So we are preparing for that. We are preparing our digital infrastructure to become sovereign from any US company, and also, of course, our finances to become our personal finances. So this doesn't only mean that the accounts of the organization could be just shut down, all the IT accounts, the email accounts, but also my personal, or the pictures that are on the internet. You know, my whole personal history with every US-American country, with every US-American company. So we are preparing for that. We are fearing that. And yeah, we felt, maybe as a last remark, how dependent we are all on US-American companies for our digital infrastructure, but also for our financing infrastructure. And I think that's a big problem.
One last remark, it was also made public on X that more sanctions were already considered. For instance, even to put the Magnitsky sanctions on us that are, according to our information, made for Russian oligarchs. So there is definitely a threatening language, an exaggerated language that is used to make it look even bigger than it actually is, which means for us that we definitely have to prepare as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, in France, I think the case of Nicolas Guillot from the International Criminal Court is famous, so I think that's the kind of thing that could also happen. The more political question that was directed to me, I haven't had exchanges directly with the Commission, but I worked on the DSA, I was shadow rapporteur, so I know what kind of measures could be taken. And that is in particular Article 34, systemic risk, because this is not about men taking these pictures somewhere, you know, the deep fake nudes, or building them and then posting them. That would be user-generated content. This is about the platform spending months developing specifically that feature to do that in order to make money out of it and then putting it on X. So this is the platform doing it. It's not user-generated content. And that is, in my personal view, it is the exact definition of systemic risk to gender-based violence, which is the language of Article 34 DSA. And I think the Commission is really forced to act here. I mean, ignoring this is staring you in the face. And it's also concerning cases of child abuse material. Yesterday, iForensics released a new report, and they reported 17 cases where this is really small children or preteen children. And this is absolutely a crime, a serious crime in the whole European Union. There's absolutely no question of legality. And also, when it concerns adults, it is illegal in most countries. It's not always a crime, but it's always illegal, almost everywhere. So the failure of the Commission to act really speaks for itself. And this has been online for weeks and ongoing for weeks right now. There also was a report in the German press on German Handelsblatt that said the Commission had prepared an investigation and the cabinet of the president stopped it because of what is going on around Greenland, Davos, and whatever. So I think that is very, very concerning information that the Commission president at highest level stops these investigations because of the geopolitical tensions. Because I think Trump is governing the US, and that is bad enough. But in Europe, Europe is still governed by other parties, and the Commission president is still Ursula von der Leyen. And the Commission has the obligation to enforce our legislation. And if this is not happening, to bend our knee to Trump, this is extremely concerning. And we're talking about very serious crimes here.
I'm going to go to a question online now. We have Aoife White. If you'd like to ask your question, you might need to turn on your mic.
Aoife White from the European Correspondent. I'd follow up to the question about sanctions and how they're affecting you. Could you say how disruptive this is to you and to your work? I mean, the fact that you have to transfer to other forms of tech, or that you need to transfer finances, does this disrupt your work? Does this disrupt your life?
Yeah, so on this question, as my colleague already mentioned, we are preparing our IT infrastructure to be not reliant on US service providers, because we are afraid that this can be shut down any minute, also without further sanctions, in an act of overcompliance. I think this is a fear that is definitely on a basis. And then the second concern that we have, and both concerns are for our personal lives and the organization as well, which of course means a double burden, since we actually have to take care of both simultaneously in this very stressful situation with a lot of public attention also. And then the second fear that we have is our finances, because being sanctioned by the US can have severe impact on payment systems, but also on the bank accounts itself. So talking about money laundering suspicions, for example, this can mean that bank accounts are cancelled. It can mean that bank accounts are frozen, and therefore we are currently investigating how we can diversify our financial structure to be not so vulnerable.
And maybe to your question, how this is disrupting our work, right now it is very cost expensive. So it's cost expensive for us personally, and it's also cost expensive for the organization to transfer our whole digital infrastructure and also our financing infrastructure. And it is taking up, as we are trying to keep up our consultation and our normal work. We are not sending victims, we're not letting victims go without support, but it is taking up a lot of our time and is severely disrupting what we are doing right now.
Thanks. Is there any last questions in the room?
So what can, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. So what can an individual do if they're being, a victim of such sexual technological abuse? Where can they start the process, and what happens in practice if they do?
So the first most important point is not to stay alone, especially image-based sexual abuse comes along with a lot of shame. So people want to forget about it, but this is exactly the wrong tactic if you want to get rid of the pictures. The biggest problem that we have is that the pictures keep coming back again and again because they are re-uploaded on different platforms, they are screenshotted, and therefore it can be a lifelong burden and stress for the victims. Therefore, it's very important to seek for help wherever you feel comfortable with, and to act, to report these kinds of pictures. If this is unsuccessful, to reach out for trusted flagger organizations, use internal complaint mechanisms, and also out-of-court settlement bodies, which are also a tool under the DSA, and seek for legal advice if this is also not helping anymore. We also have a case, for instance, going on against Google because of the Google image search that is replicating these pictures of one of our clients for years now, and they are not disappearing and are presented very well there, which is why we are taking legal action on the grounds of data protection rules.
We take the last question, I think, and you had one last one.
Oui, c'est pas la question la plus simple, mais elle mériterait sans doute beaucoup de temps. Mais quand vous parlez de souveraineté technologique européenne, dans ce domaine-là, la première étape, ce serait quoi et on en est à quelle distance?
Okay, we only have 2 minutes to do that. That's going to be hard. Well, the first step, we're voting tomorrow in plenary, the ITRE report on technological sovereignty in Europe that we have worked on for a year, 8 months or something. There's the Eurostack movement that you might have heard of that is trying to operationalize some of these and spell out what needs to be done, that I have been a co-founder of. And as far as legislation is concerned, we have the upcoming recast of the Public Procurement Directive, where Ursula von der Leyen already announced a buy European principle, but I think the lobbying against it will be very hard. And I think especially in the digital realm, it is obvious that it is absolutely necessary because we actually do have the industry. You know, the lobbyists of the big tech groups tell us, well, you can't do that in Europe. You're completely lost and you're going back to the Stone Age without us. And that is not true. We have a lot of good companies. So that's the first thing. Then we have the cloud and AI development coming up, the CHIPS Act and a series of acts on the ITRE committee where we can do industrial policy to make sure that the companies we have can really thrive. There's the MFF where we could have some kind of sovereignty innovation fund to look at what is the next technology that comes after what is already being tried. Quantum is something that comes to everybody's mind, photonic chips. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done. And obviously, we have European companies who offer services like, for example, you know, the Microsoft products that everybody uses as a German company. There's public developments in that area. So really, for in the software area, get some more funding, roll this out in the institutions. I think that is also very important within the European Parliament, that the Bureau takes decisions to make us as politicians, as Parliament, as institutions, more sovereign, because right now the American government legally has access to the data that is in American clouds and on American systems. That's the American Cloud Act. The Commission also published a tender to shift their data to a European cloud from the American cloud where they are right now. And I could go on like half an hour on this, but this is, I think, a first list that is super important. AI obviously look not at large language models, but at smaller models that are tailored really to our needs, industrial needs, medical needs, and that are very promising in research and the first models that exist, and also a lot more compatible with the climate and the planet and with privacy of people. Just stop here, but I have more.
Either of you on any closing remarks, or you? Okay, if there's any further questions, we might do it outside the room, but thanks for everyone coming, and have a good afternoon.